So this is something that I'm sure a lot of people are aware of, that it exists, but they aren't exactly aware of why it exists or what it's even called. So when we think of the word proximity, is basically just telling us a distance away from something. That's all it is. However, proximity or proxemics can also apply to people as well. So every single person has a different level of proxemics with regards to somebody else. So what do I mean by that? So for you personally, there are certain people in your life that you like to have a certain distance away from you, and other people that can come closer and you'll feel okay. So with that being said, there are 3 different types of proxemics. There is public space, personal space, and intimate space. So I'm going to start with public space. So if you can just imagine that you have an invisible ring around yourself, 3 invisible rings, and each of these rings signifies a different level of your proxemics. So for public space, this is where we consider ourselves to be a comfortable distance away from a stranger or somebody that we just don't know. So for many of us, a comfortable distance away from a stranger is outside of our speaking voice. So what does that mean? So basically, if you're speaking at your regular speaking voice, your inside voice, this person wouldn't be able to hear you. You feel like that if you were to go about your regular life, your regular day, that whatever you do would not affect them. And whatever they're doing won't affect you. You're that far away from each other that your presence isn't really felt. You're obviously aware that they are there, but you try and scale your proximity away from them so that if they get closer, you'll move farther away, or vice versa. And of course, there are situations like if you're on the bus or if you're waiting in line or something like that, and they are inside your public space and you feel anxious. The reason why this is happening is your brain is telling you there's a stranger close to you, I don't know what's gonna happen, and I need to back up. And of course, not everybody is afraid of every stranger. In some instances, there are people that you've never met in your life and you want to be closer to them, or they want to be closer to you. So in some instances, you or the other person will break the outside boundary of public space and move into the range of public space to personal space. So personal space is what is considered to be outside of arm's length, but inside of your speaking voice. So for example, if you're going to have a conversation with one of your friends, they're most likely going to be outside of your personal space, but inside of your public space. If you're to have a regular speaking voice, they can hear you and you're obviously having a conversation. You don't feel threatened by this person and your mind has subconsciously recognized them as safe. And with this being said, everybody has different levels of personal space. So what you might consider to be close enough or far enough away from somebody for you to be comfortable could be way too close for somebody else. So a fun little test you can do is next time you're talking to somebody, try taking a step forward just whenever you want in the middle of a conversation and see what they do. There's a good possibility that they're going to back up and they might not even realize why they're backing up. Another good way to test somebody's personal space is also if you back up. If you back up and then they come closer, this is a good indication that they feel very safe around you. They don't feel threatened by your presence, and maybe they actually want to try and make that step into intimate space. So before we get carried away, intimate space is just a name from inside of arm's length to your chest. It has nothing to do with wanting to be intimate with the person that you're talking to, it is just the name of the boundary. A classic example of this is when 2 people are about to fight and they get in each other's face. So what's happening here is they're breaking all 3 boundaries as quickly as possible in an attempt to intimidate the other person. So you know what I mean, like when you see 2 guys and they're about to fight and their faces are like this close together. Other instances of people breaking your personal space and going into your intimate space would be like if you're having an interaction with somebody and they touch your arm. There is literally no reason ever to touch somebody when you're talking to them, but if this does in fact happen, this is a signal that the person that you're talking to does not feel threatened to an even higher level. They're feeling very, very close, very, very safe. And of course, this goes along with kissing someone or hugging someone. Maybe it's your boyfriend or your girlfriend or maybe one of your family members. And of course, even in this intimate space, there are still signals and signs that you can see or read to tell if you're still too close. Have you ever hugged somebody before and they give you a very shell fake hug and they give you 2 taps on the back? So believe it or not, those 2 taps on the back are actually very significant. So if somebody does this to you or if you do this to somebody else, you're subconsciously telling them that you are just a little bit too close. We're not quite there yet. Literally, those 2 taps on the back signify tapping out. Like, okay, that's enough. So the next time you hug somebody, maybe it's after you're saying goodbye to somebody, or it might even be a family member, see if you can notice any differences or if it's the same. For example, if you hug your mom goodbye, she's very rarely, if ever, gonna tap you on the back. If she does, I'm sorry. That's just the worst ever. But if it's somebody new, they might actually tap you on the back saying like, you know what, this is a bit too close. I wasn't prepared for this. And they think they're still being polite because very rarely is someone who's going to push you because you try and hug them. No one really does that. And if that does happen, that's an obvious sign. get away from me. Another interesting thing too is you can actually force somebody to tap your back. So how do you do this? Basically, if you want to hug somebody as long as possible, eventually they will tap you on the back. It doesn't matter who it is too. So if you're able to withstand some awkwardness for about 15 to 20 seconds, if it takes that long, eventually that tap on the back will come. I just think it's fascinating that this is actually a pre-programmed thing in every single person. So yeah, basically this is just something to be aware of, something that's interesting to pay attention to, and I think it's really cool to test this out. So the next time you talk to somebody, try and pay attention to these things. Try and see if you can see them. Try and recognize how far away they're standing. Try and recognize if they're breaking eye contact a lot. See if notice if they touch your arm or if you touch them or whatever. Pay attention to the end of the interaction. Do you guys just walk away from each other? Do you give each other a hug? Whatever it is, just pay attention to these things. So yes, once again, these are the 3 different levels of proxemics and some of the different characteristics that lay within them. And I thought this would be a pretty cool topic to share with you guys. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you did like it, please leave a like, and if you're new, please subscribe. I do appreciate everybody that does subscribe and enjoys my content. If you have any ideas of anything that you would like to hear me talk about, please leave it down in the comment section below. And until next time, I'll see you later. Peace. Have you ever been having a conversation with someone and maybe you've been talking about a celebrity or maybe one of your friends or just a stranger or just anybody at all, and you both have very, very different opinions on this one person?